Oh, thank you, Tarun. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining the session today on cloud computing, enabling future of workplace with distributed workforce and remote workplace. I'm Munib, Vice President at Cloud Forces Services, and it's a pleasure to be here today as a moderator with esteemed panelists. Just to set a context, different surveys globally have spoken about doubling remote workforce in 2021. IDC's COVID-19 Impact Survey in September 2020 noted that 5 out of the top 10 tech investment priorities for CIOs going forward are related to workspaces, collaboration management, device management, security, and employee experience. COVID has also shown us that cloud technologies are no longer good to have, right? But they're must have right now. In our experience at Cloud4C, being a multi-cloud managed services and managed security services provider, we have seen a lot of large enterprises, fast-growing enterprises that are moving data and applications to the cloud, to allow staff to work remotely in a distributed environment, whether it is desktop as a service or VTI services, or even helping employees getting a seamless access to applications by migrating their applications to the cloud, or even migrating their complete data center to the cloud, or probably taking a step back and seeing how they can leverage the best of modernization to unlock their true potential. So these are some of the trends we at Cloud4C are also seeing. Uh, how are the best remote workforce strategies planned and executed? What are the technologies leveraged? How is data secured? And what is the way forward? I'm sure a lot of you must be having very similar questions. Let us hear from the IT leaders on the expert panel today we have. Let me introduce the panel to you today. We have Mr. Abhijit Chakravarti, an electronics and telecom engineering graduate and a seasoned IT and telecom professional with over 2 decades of experience in the fields of telecom, information technology, networking, infrastructure, development and management, customer operations, vendor management, and program management. He has a lot of specialities as part of his experience, like network solution design, SD-WAN, NMS, data center, network operation, telecom services, IP products and services, Ethernet, IT infrastructure, program management. I think the list keeps going on and on. And on the personal side, his hobbies include reading and music. Mr. Abhijit, welcome to the panel discussion today. We also have Mr. Mrinal Chakravarti. He comes over with 27 years of experience of handling a couple of India's largest tech-enabled logistics and supply chain organizations. He specializes on designing solution, leadership operation, cross-functional roles and leadership, deployment of customized ERP solutions, cloud migration, brand building, and he's a result-oriented professional with experience in system design, IT implementation, both on-prem and cloud-enabled data centers. He has extensive experience in understanding critical business drivers in multiple markets and industries, and he possesses wide experience in business IT integration. And he's passionate about painting, and I think he's also learned cooking during this pandemic. We also have Mr. Surya Narayan Singh, who is a seasoned professional with 20 years of experience in IT infrastructure management, global work experience in working in USA, UK, and Malaysia, and lead experience in cutting edge technologies, Docker, container as a service, cloud computing, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, multi-cloud, VMware, virtualization, Solarix, Unix, Linux, storage, and exposure to OpenStack. He's got expertise in design and implementation of cost-effective solution to achieve reduced TCO for disaster recovery, data center consolidation, and server virtualization. He is passionate about history of Indian culture and music. So great. I think let's get going. I don't. Okay, we have Mr. Surya and Mr. Apichi. We don't have Mr. Mrinal. I guess he's having some challenges logging into the panel discussion. Let's begin the question with you, Mr. Surya. We all know NPCI, right? I mean, whether it is your products on UPI or the NFS or the IMPS, and the list keeps going on. As an IT leader of large reputed organization, how did you plan and execute the changes to manage the distributed and remote workforce and empower them during the pandemic, considering that NPCI handles billions of transactions? And it would be safe to say that you are one of the key pillars of financial inclusion. So, Surya, over to you.
Thank you, Munif, for the great introduction. I am pleased to be here and to have a discussion with the esteemed panelist and with the very much interested audience who are more passionate about cloud and all. And as you rightly said, when the pandemic hit last year, I mean, NPCI as an organization, I mean, in a very simple way, I will say NPCI is a digital highway for the nations, right? So any digital transactions that is done either via Paytm or maybe Google Pay, because these are the more known brand. But eventually, the highway and the backbone is an NPCI only, right? From the RuPay and we do this ATM transactions also cross banks. Those all are processed by NPCI. And once the lockdown was hit, being the digital payment, all the workload that increased to us massively because the manual way of payments that was almost no. So eventually, all our e-com transactions and digital payments that is driven by UPI that become almost double. So last year, February, March only we did 1 billion transactions over UPI in a month. And this year, March, it has almost $2.73 billion transactions in a month. And when this pandemic hit, till that time, NPCI have never explored a work from home or remote working. We used to have three locations from where almost all employees used to work, but we visualized that this is going to impact us badly. And what we did like we can say we set up a war room over there, how to mitigate and how to empower our people to stay connected to the network and how to get the nation supporting on the payment systems. We very swiftly enabled multiple security parameters. We already NPCI infra is a very much secured. You do have a 3-4 layers of security, right, from the micro segmentation to the WAF to the firewall and other security tools over there, right? But what we did, we enabled our users so that they can, since it is more on B2B, not B2C, we enabled our all users so that they are able to manage the applications, they are able to manage the infrastructure. And on the collaboration also, we were very weak before that one on the collaboration. So we swiftly evaluated multiple collaboration platform also, so that people are more connected. So we taken a lot of tasks, right? On the humanity, we formed a corona task force also for all the NPCI employees. And I take a pride that NPCI have done fantastic way to helping the employees even during work from home and all, whoever got impacted, whatever help was required on a person, on a technology and all. Even like when the people move to their remote locations, we shipped the laptops with all the configurations and all these things. We also enabled on the security front, like user behavior analysis also, because this becomes one of the critical aspect once people start working remotely. So net, it was a very challenging, but we addressed it well within the time, though we had to work extensively, right? We were able to manage it. Hope I answered, Munib.
No, no, absolutely, Surya. Thank you for giving a quite insightful answer to this. See, my question to you is, today, I mean, as I was reading your profile, also reading on your profile, also, you have spent a lot of time in building the cloud strategies as well, right? And on-prem data centers. So that entire heterogeneous IT environment, especially after pandemic, right? In our experience also, what we have seen is that the amount of heterogeneous environments have really grown, right? Especially with cloud, with edge, with IoT, right, and with your on-prem data center. with so many diverse IT environments, right? How do you really ensure that the data is secure? Because you're handling one of the most sensitive financial data of different people and organizations. Right? And what do you recommend as a best practices to the to the attendees of the event who are listening to us today from a security standpoint?
Sure, very good question, Munib. So I will touch base like as a financial service, most of the organization today or day before yesterday, most of the people were there on on-prem data centers or maybe a colo hosting kind of things. Okay, and we were not different from that. But almost 3-4 years back, NPCI have embarked the journey for setting up their own private cloud. Okay, and we have successfully deployed a private cloud where more than 70 to 80% of all financial applications, you name it, be it RuPay, be it Bheem, be it IMPS, these all runs on that private cloud platform only. Initially, these all were on the data centers only. This pandemic given us another opportunity to speed up and scale our and migrate the remaining applications which were on-prem on the cloud so that we can get the elasticity. And that was the reason that UPI, which was target to build for a billion a day transactions, our target was for next 3 years. Within 3 years, we have made it operational right now. So as of now, as I am talking, that UPI can process 1 billion a transaction in a day. So that we have done it on the scale. When it comes to the security, right from the encryption or InfoSec tool, I am by default considering that firewall, WAF, right? Then DAM agents like their antivirus are there, and then that SIM that is applied. That any activity which happens on the applications or the database and all those all are recorded either way. And then at the last, I will say we also have deployed the micro segmentation. And the people who are not aware about the micro segmentation, I will share one very good example. You can correlate it. Like 10 to 15 years back, if you go to any 5-star hotel or 7-star hotel, you will get your key and you will go to your room. Along with that one, you can go to any of the floor also. That was the almost 10 years back. But nowadays, if you go and visit any of the 5-star or 7-star hotel, you will get a card, and that card will allow only to get your lift to your floor. That you cannot stop the lift somewhere here and there. So that way it has become more segmentation. Similarly, when it comes to the IT infrastructure, that micro segmentation enables to talk between two servers right on the very specific port. Say for example, some penetration or some hackers for whatever the reason gets a chance to penetrate, right? They will not be able to spread beyond the two servers because they are not known what
Absolutely.
protocol, what port is open kind of things. When it comes to security, because we are the custodian of the national digital infrastructure, and there is a zero tolerance and zero compromise on the security. So right from the perimeter firewall, 3 layers of firewall we do have, DMG is over there, then those security tools I told, and at the very last layer inside that our private cloud, we have deployed the micro segmentation. So that gives a lot of confidence to us, because a lot of time news came, and being part of NPCI, a couple of my friends say, hey, how is your UPI secure? And also I say 100% it's secure until unless user do not commit a mistake. There is no way somebody account or somebody money is on toss. Hope I answered, Munib.
No, absolutely, Mr. Surya. Especially the zero trust architecture part you explained really well. I
Yes.
think even a layman person like me could understand what you meant by the zero trust architecture. Right? And in our experience, also, what we have seen is, as Cloud 4C, there are multiple financial institutions that we are running on Cloud, especially like even run the bank solutions. There are almost 26 to 30 different security layers that you need to put in to really protect the financial data. And security becomes very, very important. So I'll go to Mr. Mrinal. I'm glad that he's been able to join us. Mr. Mrinal, am I audible? Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, am I audible now?
Yes, we can hear you, Mrinal.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely.
Okay.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Sorry for the inconvenience.
So, Mr. Yeah. So, Mr. Minal, welcome back. I finished your introduction, and one of the interesting things I've seen DTDC is that you probably touch everybody's life in terms of delivering requirement of parcels or packages from one place to another. I've seen your organization using cutting edge technology. I would like to congratulate you for that. And we have also spoken about different facets of technology, Mr. Minal, by Mr. Surya and by Mr. Abhijit. But I understand there's a human side to technology as well, right? Would you probably like to explain the audience over here on what is the human side of technology, especially with remote workforce and pandemic coming in? Why don't you share your experiences?
See, it may be a little cliched. First of all, thank you, the team, for allowing us to speak over here. And when this senior, more, more experienced people, Mr. Surya, Mr. Abhijit is here. So let me just try to say whatever we did. It's a large organization. Yes, we have some 12,000 franchisees and some 9,000 employees, and very happy to see that despite the entire pandemic situation gone through, and the new second wave is coming in. You will not believe. Just let me give you statistics.
Minal, we are losing you a bit. Probably if you just switch off your video, probably the network
March
connectivity would be better.
2020.
Yeah.
We
Thanks, Murray.
should carry
Mr. Minal,
around 650,000 parcels per day, 650,000 shipments. And when we decided that we have to hit back the road, we have to go and talk to government, and we have to bring people back to business because hospitals needs us, pharmaceutical companies needs us. And when we really went back and started opening our shutter, with or without permissions.
Minal, you went on mute.
Clear that despite all odds,
can we, Murray bhai, can we go for the next question and direct it to Mr. Abhijit as he is here now?
Absolutely. Mr. Abhijit, am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you, Manip. Yes.
Absolutely. Wonderful, sir. So I'll let you complete your answer where you were speaking about how did you build access to applications with your employees and role of cloud in aiding your digital transformation initiative, even with employees working from home. So over to you, Mr. Abhijit.
Yeah. So what we did is obviously we first looked at, first we looked at, immediately when we started off, it was very imperative that what is there in the data center cannot move so easily, and, applications would need to be accessed from wherever they are, right? Wherever they are, irrespective of whether they are on the cloud. A few applications were there on the cloud, but a lot of applications were on premises, right? So what we did is that we quickly looked at enabling VPN plus VDI plus user profiling in the applications, and combined with IDAM, which is identity and access management, right? We combined all this because we needed security. On top of that, added upon a two-factor and a multi-factor authentication so that, we know who's accessing what, why, from where, etc., and all that. Right. And we kind of enabled access to start off with. And once this was done, because we needed business to start rolling, right? So once this was, the first thing that we needed was secured access. The second thing we looked at is this the best thing to do, and can we move certain applications to the cloud, right? And there is where we started our journey of application modernization and identifying applications that can move to the cloud. Now, any bank in India which is about 2 decades plus would have a challenge of running applications which have got monolithic architectures, which means that you can't really move them to cloud. You will have to do away with that application, bring in something which is cloud native, and that was not really feasible. But what we started doing is we started looking at applications which can be modernized, which can move the cloud native architecture, which can support, which works with APIs, which supports standard APIs, which support DevOps, right? And we started, and for all the new applications, the new application launches, at least we have now started adopting a cloud-first posture within the organization, questioning that why can't this go to the cloud, right? And if there is certain things which cannot go to the cloud will remain on-prem, that is okay. So in a nutshell, what has happened is that we have now become a hybrid cloud architecture. We have on-premises, we have cloud.
I think I lost your voice, Mr. Abhijit. Deepak, am I the only one? Or?
No, we cannot hear Mr. Abhijit. He's not looking at the camera.
Yeah. Lost. Okay. So probably this looks. Yeah, Mr. Abhijit, you're back. We lost you for the last like 15 seconds. Are you there? We can't hear you still. Okay, so I think probably I'll have to come back to you again, Mr. Surya. Thank you for patiently answering.
No problem.
Yeah,
No problem.
even Mr. Surya, even I would like to thank you for taking this opportunity to fill the gaps which our panel members are struggling to fill right now because of a technical glitch.
No problem. No problem.
So, Mr. Surya, my question to you is, as a thought leader for your industry, how does the future of workplace look like? And how can technology play an enabler for organizations to remain ahead of the curve? Surya.
All right. Thank you, Munib. This is again a great question. Like, in my opinion, IT has transitioned, and barring the few organizations which still they are using the legacy applications and legacy way of working. I mean, IT has itself transformed as an enabler. At least I do see a lot of organization, right? We see a lot of organization has taken their digital transformation journey. People are talking about DevOps, like we also have the same journey. People are talking about the hybrid cloud. We also do have multi-cloud. We do have, right? Right from the inside the data center, we have hybrid cloud. One is on the VMware proprietary platform. The other we are building with the completely open source. Like I can say at a zero cost, we are building that platform. When it comes to the public cloud, we also have established connection with AWS. We do have with Azure as well as GCP. So these three platforms are already integrated. So as and when I want to burst the workload right from my data center to the public cloud, those kind of arrangement we already have done. The right pipelining has been done, right connectivity has been done, right tools are in place. So I think once we embark the journey, and Abhijit rightly said the cloud first. So this cloud first initiative, when I joined NPCI in 2017, that was my first ask for the organization. That point of time, NPCI has no application to run on a cloud and all. But eventually we did the app modernization. Slowly we started migrating the application from the bare metal infrastructure to the virtualized enabled infrastructure, and eventually in a form that can elastic, it can do auto scale also on the demand and all. So over a period of time, it has evolved, what I think. And coming to the future workforce of the remote, I strongly believe the way we work as of now, we go to the workplace to deliver certain results. I think in next 3 4 years this is going to completely shift the paradigm. And in my personal opinion, I feel 60 to 70% workload will get transitioned into the work from home model. And you might have been seeing like a large organization like TCS, Infosys, and all. They are talking that yes, they want to free up certain space, or they want to make that a space for collaboration rather for the workspace. So I strongly believe in next 5 years. And there was a one of the interview, I don't remember the gentleman, that was in 1955. He was telling that a time will come when people will travel for amusement, for the picnic and all, not for the work. And eventually that is happening as of now. More and more people are working. Like last 1 year we almost all worked remotely, and we have delivered. It's more than what usually is delivered from the people go to the office and all. So I believe yes, it will transition, and more people will adapt for work from home model, or work from anywhere rather, I will say.
Absolutely. I think working from anywhere, it's going to be a hybrid model going forward. I completely agree with you, Surya. So, from Mr. Abhijit, because he's come back
Sure,
again.
sure,
Mr.
please.
Abhijit, am I audible?
Yes, yes, I can hear you. I am not sure whether you are able to hear me or not.
Absolutely, we
We
can
can
hear
hear
you.
you now.
Okay,
Fantastic.
good.
We're just wrapping up the session.
Okay,
We'll-
yeah, see, I was reading an article somewhere, I don't remember where, but, I think there are two pertinent observations that I noted from that article. Point number one, it said that COVID did not break a system, it exposed a already broken system. And when I looked at it, I kind of agreed with it. That was point number one, right? And point number two, it said that if anything that has to change now, you've got to look at how the workspace changes, right? So you've got to look at what the infrastructure is. Now, infrastructure is like, and a very simple mannerism, you have a Bombay to Pune highway, and you can, if you have a good car, you can drive at 200 kilometers an hour, right? Now, that's infrastructure. Now, what does an infrastructure build? It's got servers, it's got storage, it's got compute, it's got networks, it's got security. But when you go digital, what's very, very important is that how seamlessly are these integrated? What's the and with integration comes a lot of automation, a lot of orchestration. So I very firmly believe that couple of things. I mean, obviously, you're kind of modernizing your applications and moving ahead, right? That's happening. But along with that, I think what will change is the adoption and usage of AI and ML and RPA basis your industry domain. Second is the focus on observability and visibility. Now, in a few months back, it was monitoring and management. Now it has become visibility and observability. The third thing that it will require, because you are all remote, you don't have hands and feet on the floor, your time to react in a remote working is always will be high, because you need to then get engineers to site, which may or may not happen right at the time. So how are you adopting an ITSM and ITOM model so that you have the capability of remotely observing, analyzing, and fixing your issues? And you've got to be proactive and predictive, not reactive. Anything post-mortem in a digital world, you are dead, right? I think this is what will change.
Fantastic. I think very, very interesting remarks from your side, Mr. Abhijit, especially on the COVID exposing already broken system. That means it was already broken, it just got exposed.
Yeah.
And observability and visibility, I think that's absolutely very critical. And Mr. Surya talking about the hybrid working model going forward. Very, very interesting closing remarks.
Yeah, because we, I was, before this session started, me and Surya were just having a discussion. So since we all are Indians and we speak a bit of Hindi, everyone can understand a bit of Hindi. So in Hindi, there is the statement saying, "Log kya kahenge?" What will people say? So, I just kind of modified a bit, in my own parlance, and I kept the spelling the same, but pronounce it a bit different and say, "Ab logs kya kahenge?" right? Very, very important in a digital world, because that's what you've got to be very, very careful about.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Abhijit. Thank you, Mr. Surya, for your time. Very, very insightful panel discussion. And I'm sure the audience had a lot of takeaways from the panel discussion today. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Manip.